I was sentenced to 55 to life. And now I'm doomed. There's no way out, right? And I messed this life up. But even in this life, I kept hearing Jay-Z in my head of all people. He got a phrase where he says, I will not lose. I will not lose. I will not lose. And I was like, I gotta make that right. I gotta do something for my kids. And so I came up with the idea of being a writer, because no matter what, in prison, your voice is still free. And so I figured if I could write a novel that could make the New York Times bestseller list, then I could make my kids proud of me, even though I was never coming home. And I can contribute to their well-being.
I feel like you guys are my brothers. Like when we don't go in, we miss y'all, you know? Hello, I'm Ted Hahs. This is the INNOVAT3 Podcast. I'm your host, and I'm here with my man, Rahsaan Thomas. And he's a movie maker, a journalist, a storyteller. You were a journalist in San Quentin when I met you.
Yeah, I kind of dropped the pen at the front door. But somewhere inside, there's still a journalist in me. And one of these days, I'm going to write again.
And you are a lived experience expert in justice-informed and prison reformation. And you're making the world better.
I'm trying. I definitely feel like I'm making some progress.
So you're a movie maker. Tell us what you're about.
Yeah, I'm about using multimedia to achieve social justice and public safety. And I'm also just a storyteller, man, waiting to for the chance to tell my own story somewhere in between, helping everybody else tell theirs, you know? But mostly, I'm a person that has been extremely blessed beyond my talent. Just extremely blessed beyond anything I deserve. And so in order to honor that blessing, I gotta make sure that I bless people beyond anything their talent and bless them beyond anything they deserve, you know?
And I remember when I first met you, I was playing basketball with the green team and going in, playing against the San Quentin Warriors, against my incarcerated brothers. My go-to icebreakers. I've been in and out of prison the last 18 years. Gets people's attention. It's quite interesting, though, the crowd you're talking to, the different response. Talk to a certain crowd and they immediately know it's a joke, and others are very empathetic, like, wow, good for you, brother. Then I've never been incarcerated by God's grace. But I use the term incarcerated brothers. I said the term inmate.
Whoa!
Around Brian. And Brian challenged me. He says, don't use that term. Since it's inmate number, we're not a number. That's where that term comes from. Language is important. Refer to us as incarcerated individuals. And the rebel in me is like, that's a mouthful. But I thought,
But you know something? One time I watched a story on NBC about a guy who escaped from prison. And one sentence, they called him inmate 3 times. And I'm like, yo, who else escapes from prisons? It's not the guards. You ain't even gotta, sometimes the word is so unnecessary. And on top of that, I just want you to think about why the word's so important. You might just think it's just words and it's a mouthful, but exclusion is a root cause of crime. Every time you make somebody feel like they less than, they other than, they not as, you are inspiring them to make bad choices. If you want people to make good choices, if you want people to respect society, respect your property, respect the community, how do you expect them to do that if they don't feel like part of it? And why would you call somebody an inmate and other them by where they're incarcerated instead of who they are?
well, that you're describing part of my journey. By then I'd been in for a long, I'd been going in for years now. So my mindset's being changed. But this is something I wasn't doing intentionally. I mean, by then, you guys are all my buddies. My mindset's being changed, but I still needed to get, continually re-educated about things I don't know about, and things where I'm doing harm and I'm not even aware of it, Now I use the term incarcerated brothers. And the language is really important to me because every time I say it, it reminds me of what I've learned through it. That I feel like you guys are my brothers. Like when we don't go in, we miss y'all, and the relationships now that you're out and we're working together, like some of my closest relationships have come out of it. And every time I say that, it reinforces it. And then when I say it to the audience, it's like, no, they're my brothers.
And for sure. And I think that some people might think, oh, it's just words or this, that, and the third. But like, I remember watching these sword and sorcery shows from back in the, and you always see the magicians have spells. And we think it's just hocus pocus because nobody can really just say some magic words and a dragon appear, right? But words really do have power. And the more you say things, the more you program, the more you create a subliminal, subconscious things going on in your head and have you act in a certain way, treat people a certain way. It's deep, bro. It's words.
The power is so true. It's so true. And science backs it up. But, there's a passage in the New Testament that says the power of life and death is in the tongue.
Ooh, speak on.
And that whole phrase, sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can never hurt me. That's just not true.
I know a lot of people that said, I'd rather get a beating than get a psychological whooping with them words. Because them words echo in your head, you can't take them back. Bruises heal. I mean, words are powerful.
Yeah, the true phrase, man, is sticks and stones may break my bones, but words are what can really hurt me.
That's 100% accurate, for sure.
So, what impressed me is when I met you.
My jump shot, the one-hand jumper.
You weren't playing by the time I went there.
I could have made the team, but somebody had to cover the story, Ted.
Yeah. Is the professionalism, you're writing these amazing stories. That's why I thought you were still a journalist. You've written some articles for some wasn't one of your articles in some New York Times or something like that?
Not the New York Times.
Not the New York Times.
Boston Globe.
Okay.
They got this insider. I published 42 stories in 31 months, a whole bunch of major publications. And I really do love journalism. But when I came out, I put that pen down and picked up that camera. And then they let B-roll go. And we back again. We made a bunch of films where we inside, me and Brian AC. And now we're out here doing it. So, and Banks is a big part of that. Edmund now is home. Shah. Like all the guys I work with in the media center, we're out here making films. And so I love film more. At the core, I'm still a writer, but now I'm writing scripts.
Yeah, there you go. It's all multimedia. A movie starts out as words on a page. There you go. The power of life and death in the words. Using words to tell stories that make people think differently. What I was saying is what impressed me is how you guys are already influencing the world for better. You're making yourselves better. You weren't waiting until you got out to turn your lives around, not only turn your own lives around, but then to give back and to start addressing the very problems that you were facing, that you had overcome, the mistakes you made. Very powerful. It really spoke to me.
Thank you. I'm a firm believer that you always part of society and you can't wait to go home to start your life, especially if you're given a sentence that doesn't have a date. And, we talked about hope earlier, or Brian talked about hope earlier, or I was supposed to come talk about hope earlier.
Yeah, story of hope, but you got delayed by traffic.
But the quick story about that is, all my life, I bought into hopelessness. Not all my life. During my young life, I bought into hopelessness. I grew up in an area of Brooklyn where 7 out of 10 people are not going to make it. They're going to go to prison or they're going to die. Right? 7 out of 10 are not going to make it out of my neighborhood. Right? And so instead of, the tension was so...
Wow, well, 7 out of 10 are not going to make it. So 7 out of 10 are not going to make it past what age?
I'm not saying all of them are gonna die. 1 out of 5, then maybe 2 out of 5 are gonna die. But they're going to prison. They're going to jail.
Into the cycle. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody in my family, every male of my family of my generation has been to the prison that's from Bronzeville. It's like 5 of us that from Bronzeville. All of us been to more than that, the youngest man. Almost every black male in my family who lived in Bronzeville has been to the prison.
Wow.
Right. Thank God none of us are in the dead statistic part, but we definitely all made it to the incarceration part. My father was incarcerated, everybody. And so that's where I grew up, where I'm either going to die or go to jail. And those are my choices, right? Those felt like my choices. Don't get me wrong, there's other choices, but they're really hard, right?
Yeah, those are the only options you see out there.
I'm not going to let that be an excuse, because there is another option. It's called endurance and luck. You do the right thing no matter what, get robbed a couple of times, endure injustice, get it earlier, work harder, figure out how to get a scholarship, be poor, and then when you graduate college, you'll finally get that job, and you'll finally be able to get out the hood. It's hard though. Like my mom always said that, first of all, son, don't expect life to be fair, because that's gonna be a problem. It's not gonna be fair. Get that out your head. I'm like, nah, mine's gonna be fair for me. And she also said you got to get up earlier, work harder. I just thought that was bullcrap. That's not right. But she's right. That's the answer. We don't like the answer. It's like it's like eating broccoli or something. Oh, I actually like broccoli. But it's like eating spinach or something, right? It's good for you, but don't taste good. And even when you do all that, you still need a lot of luck, because you still might not make it, right? So I'm not gonna let the circumstances be 100% negative, because there's a 30% chance I could have made it. People do make it, right? But what I'm trying to say is that instead of looking at the 30% that I could have made it, or making it 40%, add me to it, I embrace the fact that most likely I'm not going to make it. Okay. And I did everything I can to be part of the 70%. And ironically, when I got to prison, I was sentenced to 55 to life. And now I'm doomed, right? There's no way out, right? You could file appeal all you want, but you ain't got no money. You look, it's a miracle. It's not even 30% anymore. You talk about 1%. Appeals with no money, no lawyer, 1%. All right, so now I'm in the 1%. I got a 99% chance I'm gonna die in prison.
So when did the direction change from you? Like I love the way you're framing this. You're like, sure, this deck was stacked against me, but I have to take responsibility. I bought into that. So I, aligned with that. When did it change? And then you go and it gets worse. You're given, you're going to be in prison until you die. That's what they're saying. No hope of getting out. When did it turn that you're like?
It turned because, one, I wanted to know why. Why did they give me so much time? What am I doing here? Because at my essence, I felt like I've never stopped being a good dude. And I looked at the people around me on the level 4 prison, and they've done insane things, but they're actually some really good dudes. Like, you don't even like gangbanging, right? It's not what you think it is, right? Like, it's some crazy stuff mixed into it, but a lot of them operate with a level of morals and principles. Like, you can't owe money in prison. If somebody owes money, you go to the shot caller and he'll make them pay. You ain't even got to do no violence. Like, they have a structure. They got certain rules, right? And they will risk their lives to protect yours in a riot. And so I've never seen that kind of courage and integrity.
And this
is in Calipatria, level 4 prison.
Okay. And how old were you at the time?
30s. Right.
Okay.
And so.
How old were you when you went in?
29. Okay. And so what changed for me is, one, being a man of my word, and looking for, why am I here? Why is it like this? The other thing I thought was crazy, I was in a prison where I forgot the exact numbers. I don't want to make none up, but the vast majority of the prison had life, and we're not going home.
Yeah, that was San Quentin back in the day.
But San Quentin is still like full of hope, right?
Yeah.
This is Calipatria. There ain't no hope there, bro. We on lockdown like half the year. One time I was on lockdown 4 years straight. Lockdown, a modified program. We never fully got up to the prison running normal. But 4 years straight, war with the CO, different races. Right? So it wasn't a place of hope. But like, nobody was trying to take over the prison. They were just trying to cope with the pain it caused, with the situation they're in. They mostly just wanted to be drunk or high or mind God or something. And so I'm like, here go all these people with life sentences, and this place ain't really that bad. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some dumb stuff that happens. Yeah. But you would think it would be barbaric. I mean, all of us are doomed. But we out here playing basketball like it's a normal day in a park. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like what I thought it would be. Don't get me wrong, it's not all roses, but like, it wasn't what I thought it was.
Well, you faced your...
And it made me see that, just made me curious. I started looking for answers. And I like something, it has to be something bigger than this. There has to be a purpose for all of this. And so I started going to all the religious services. Buddha, Christianity, and Islam, and I ended up settling in Islam. And I felt like I might never go home, and I messed this life up. But this life is short compared to eternity, and I at least want to get it right in the next life. So let me start preparing for the next life, because this one's gone. But even in this life, I kept hearing Jay-Z in my head, of all people. He got a phrase where he says, I will not lose, I will not lose, I will not lose. And I felt like being a man of my word, I promised myself I would never be like my father. Never did nothing for me. Never did nothing for me. Incarcerated, came on. I don't, got killed himself. I don't even know, man. But the bottom line, when he died, there was no life insurance. Like, he never did nothing for me. My mother had to take care of me and my brother alone. He wasn't there to protect us. He wasn't there. And now here I was sitting there with 55 to life, 2 sons I loved to death. And I was worse than my father because not only could I not be there for my kids, but I took somebody else's father, right? And I was like, I gotta make that right. I gotta do something for my kids. And so I came up with the idea of being a writer because no matter what, in prison, your voice is still free. And so I figured if I could write a novel that could make the New York Times bestseller list, then I could make my kids proud of them, even though I was never coming home. And I could contribute to their well-being. And so I embarked on this journey to being a writer that didn't work out till they already grown and out of college, but it gave me hope. It got me to custody levels lower and lower until I got to San Quentin. And things turned around from there, man.
So by writing, you got your custody levels lower. What does that mean?
No, staying out of trouble got my custody levels lower, so I can go from a level 4 maximum security to a level 3 somewhat max medium to a lower custody level 2 San Quentin with all the public and like that. And at San Quentin, so writing gave me hope. Because when you have life, man, I mean, the devil, like, you ever see those little, I think it's Natural Lampoons, Animal House, you got the devil, the angel on this shoulder, the devil on this shoulder. The devil on this shoulder saying, yo, you got double life. That's a form of freedom. You could do whatever you want, bro. What they gonna do, give you life? You already got life. You could sell drugs, you be a kingpin in prison, you can have conjugal visits without having conjugal visits. You could just do anything, bro. Like, you got life. What you gonna do? If they killed you, so what? You don't feel like doing all this time anyway. And so that's this devil is telling you. But the angel's telling you, like, yo, there's a life after life, bro. Yo, what about your sons, man? You don't want to die and them thinking that that's how you die, bro. Like, you got to redeem yourself, bro. You got to do something better than this. There's hope, man. You can write, man. You can make the New York Times bestseller list. So what? You only have a high school grad diploma. So what? You never wrote anything before in your life. But if you want to be a writer, you can do it.
And this is all happening in your 30s. This is behind him, Incarcerated, he's in your 30s.
Yeah.
Wow. Can I ask you a question? Sure. What was it that made you stick with Islam? What was it that touched you? Like, what was the
3 things, man. One, my name's Rahsaan. Okay. And so I was named after a jazz musician named Rahsaan Roland Kirk. But it was a dude on the yard, a Muslim dude, Abdul Aziz, a Muslim dude that, he was a Knicks fan. He read a lot of literature from New York. And he found out I was from New York and my name's Rahsaan. He assumed I'm Muslim. So he comes to 2 block where I'm in like this orientation period where they don't really let me out too much. But like after a week or 2 of that, you go to the main line, you go to the, General Pop. General Pop's actually in that building too. They just let you out your cell. You're just in a General Pop like that. But anyway, he said, yo, brother, the Muslims are on 2 block. We're going to move you over there. And I'm like, yo, I'm not Muslim. He's like, hey, brother, we're going to move you to 2. Brother, I'm not your brother, bro. I'm by myself. I run by myself. I'm not in no gang, bro. I'm not going to 2 block. They ain't move me to 2 block anyway. And no matter what, dude, my whole prison bit at Calipatria, people were trying to like circle around me like I might be prey. And I would see it coming. And they were asking, yo, way home, yo, because like you're not supposed to run by yourself in prison. Yeah. You're supposed to be part of something. And I was defiant. I'm from Brooklyn, bro. I'm by myself. I ain't with none of y'all. But behind my back, the Muslims was like, yo, he's with us. So all of they just would protect me for no real reason. I didn't become Muslim. I didn't become Muslim for 11 years. 11 years after being incarcerated. So all this time they're like watching out for me.
So you're saying for 11 years because your name is a certain name. You're from New York.
Well, I'm not going to say no. The first 3 years I was in a county jail, so I'm saying 8 years. 8 years in state prison.
This
community looking out for me.
He's looking out for you.
And I'm telling them I'm not Muslim. Everywhere I go, I'm not Muslim. I'm not Muslim. I'm not Muslim. I run by myself, and then the Muslims just standing by like, nah, I ain't with us. I'm like, no, I'm not with y'all. You know what I mean? So that's 1. And then 2, they moved me into a cell with a dude that was just depressive. He had been down 26 years and he just gave up, bro. He was a walking dead. He had a $26 pay number every month. And by the time canteen came around, he would owe half of it out for buying coffee and cigarettes. The other half, he would make burritos and then they'd be broke again for the rest of the month. And all he took was negative, never going on. I'm like, I got to get away from you, bro. You ain't got no hope. I need to be around somebody else. And there was an opportunity to move into a cell with a dude named Waleed, who ended up being the editor-in-chief of San Quentin News and just paroled recently. And so I moved in the cell with Waleed.
Are you in San Quentin, Bob?
I'm in Calipatra.
Calipatra.
I just got life. I just got to the state prison. The old boy, the guy that gave up was my first cellie, my second cellie in prison. And he just was a Debbie Downer, man. Like, the sky's falling. I'm like, nah, I gotta get away from you, man. You hella negative. You done gave up. You done tapped out. I still got Jay-Z in my head. I'm not going home, but I will not lose. I will not lose, man. This dude only talk about is losing. I don't want. Now I got to get around some positive people. And what I liked about the Muslims, not only were they positive, but they were respected. Whereas the Christians were respected to a certain degree too. Because every once in a while, a Christian might get bullied. You're not bullying the Muslims. But the main reason I liked Islam is that because it has one book, it's less tampered with, and there's not all the contradictions. And another thing, it tells me that when we get to heaven, God's going to tell us why we differ, but there's different religions for a reason. It's the first book that ever told me that there's more than one path to God. It's the first book that's accepting of other religions. Every other religion, like, if you don't do it my way, you're going to hell. And that don't sound like something Jesus would say. But like the Bible,
well, I definitely agree with you. I mean, I'm Christian, but I could definitely agree with you that there's a whole bunch of people quoting Jesus that he got it all wrong. And I could definitely agree with you that there's a whole bunch of people that are identifying themselves as Christian. I go, that is not that's not the direction Jesus sent.
But I'm gonna say too, I'm not hardcore religious. But Islam is my temperature, my path. But I think Jesus made it really simple for everybody. Love God or love each other. That's what religion is.
Yeah. Yep. And I'll know that you love me by what you do.
Yeah.
You know, like anyone can, that's what I say. It's like anyone can say they believe anything, you know, and we've defined our religion, particularly in Christianity, you know, like this is our creed. We're creedal to the nth degree. This is our creed. You know, we fight and argue over one small point, you know, like one small division. And in Matthew 25, Jesus tells the story of the wheat of the goats, the sheep and the goats. And, you know, the ones that didn't make it were the ones that didn't show love to the least of these. He's like, anyway, you know, it's like in basketball, you know, we talk trash. We love to talk trash. It's like we're having fun. But we both know as soon as you get on the court, you know, you could talk all you want, but can you back it up with how you play? That's what Jesus is saying. It's like the game is loving one another. And I was watching when nobody else was watching. And I was seeing if you showed love to the people that couldn't pay you back. That's how I know if you really followed me or not. And what's interesting, that warning is so important, is both groups were surprised. The group that did it and were the good guys were surprised. When did we ever show love to you? We never even had a chance. He says, no, when you were out there loving your neighbors, you just did it naturally. I was watching you. And the other group's like, man, Jesus, we were defending you all the time. We were talking about you all the time. He said, you didn't care about people. I never even knew you. We could all learn from that.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you something that was deep too. You know, one of the things about being Muslim, we have to accept like different things. There's five basic pillars, right? Well, one of them is respect you accept all of the holy books. That means the Torah, the New Testament, you accept all the holy books. And one thing I hold on to from the Bible is that all things work to the good for those who love God and are called to his purpose. And why that line is so powerful in my life, it's like whenever anything happens, I just like, this is a test from God, and somehow this is going to work out for the good. I don't know how it is right now, but I know it's already a silver line.
A Muslim with a life verse. I love that. All things work together for good to those who love God and are called according to his purpose. It's beautiful. That's beautiful. Wow. Aaron Showtime Taylor touched me so much when he introduced Don Smith at the award ceremony, remember, in 2019? And, you know, Don Smith is the one who started the Green Team, you know, and Aaron Showtime Taylor is the famous, you know, play-by-play. He's famous now because of cue ball. And he's introducing Don, and everybody knows Don's going to talk about Jesus. Don's a Christian. He wears it on his sleeve quite easily. And, you know, Aaron's never at a loss for words. And when he's introducing Don, and Aaron's a Muslim also, he's introducing Don, and everyone knows Don's going to preach the gospel. He can barely speak. He's almost in tears. And he introduces Don. He says, This is the first guy who showed me religion can unite us rather than divide us. And I'm like, that touched me so deeply. I want to be that type of Christian, where people from a religion that's other, that I'm not going to convince, I haven't convinced yet, are so moved because of the relationship by me, that they're going to introduce me in that way. That's another thing we could really learn from. So, wow, this is great. Thank you so much for joining and chatting with me. We have a few more minutes before you got to run. You're a lived experience expert, and now you're an advocate, and you're working for a better world. So how can we change the system? How can we do better? What would be your top thing that could change as a society so that we go from 80% recidivism to 1%?
It's one word, inclusion. And so I've been using a formula that I got from Brian Stevenson. If you want to do something about Brian Stevenson is a civil rights attorney. He starred in the movie and wrote the book Just Mercy. He's the one that dealt with juvenile lifers and death row penalty cases. He's that guy. He came into San Quentin and talked about, if you want to do something about the criminal justice system, get proximate to it. And so I started thinking about ways to get people proximate. I met you. Basketball got us proximate. But writing got me proximate to you. That's how I was on the side of the court, because for some reason the Warriors never picked me when the trials were coming around. I don't know what's wrong with them, some bullshit. But I was ended up on the sidelines covering the stories. And
you were just much better use of a writer.
Those some good stories. But I've been using art, writing, film as a way to get people proximate and economically empower people when I can. There's rules against film, but with writing and art, we do it because I think those are solutions, like building community, economic opportunities. Art and all this is also healing. It's very healing. And so also like having a way where even before you go home, that's about the Empowerment Ivy is my free entry program. San Quentin Doodle, San Quentin Film Festivals in between. It works with formerly and currently incarcerated people. Helps incarcerated filmmakers build their resumes. So when they walk out those doors, they already got employment. They're already plugged into the film economy. They don't have to scramble. For writers and artists, they make money while incarcerated. And they build their CV up and get their resume beautiful. So, most of the time you come from prison, you have to act like you were the custodial maintenance person at a gated community, right? You have to fluff your resume, right? And you don't have credit history, none of that stuff. But the people in Empowerment Avenue, man, they actually have real resumes, real credentials, real savings. They already got a head start towards success. And why that's so important to me, I remember when my father couldn't do nothing for me when he was incarcerated. And it made my mother's life much harder, which made me and my little brother's life much harder. And incarceration is really expensive. And if you don't have...
Very expensive.
Yeah, if you can't, 19 cents a day ain't enough, or 19 cents an hour ain't enough to sustain your needs in them. And so if you can make enough money where you can at least take the burden off your family of incarceration, you make it less likely. I think right now it's 6 times more likely a kid is going to prison if the parents in prison. But if you could just make some money to take care of yourself, and if you can make enough to help your family out, the more you can do from here, the less likely your child's going to follow your footsteps. So that's what I'm doing. I'm using proximity, multimedia, but it's all about one thing, man: inclusion and building community. And everything comes from there.
I think that's brilliant. And I actually believe we don't fully understand it yet, but I think we've cracked the code in the sense that you're highlighting the key point, the San Quentin basketball program, which is so much more than just basketball. Like you're talking, it's the media, and all these things around it. And it's a movement that, we from the outside have had a part. Certainly guys like Don and Bill were catalytic in getting it going. The Warriors played a big part, but the real driving force is y'all owning it and run by the incarcerated individuals. But I was talking with Raphael, and I asked him, I said, as far as I know, of the guys who've been part of this program who've gotten out, very few of them are not thriving. So how many of them do you know, because it's been hundreds now over the years, which is statistically significant. You know, like something had to cause it. It isn't just because. And he was counting through, and less than a handful of guys that aren't thriving, aren't doing well, who've been part of this program are getting out. And you compare that to the general population, it's 80% who are, caught in this cycle of recidivism in and out of prison. So this is a program that works.
Definitely.
And the heart of it is community.
Yeah, I'm actually doing a documentary about that called Road Game.
Talk about that.
Yeah, so Road Game is a documentary where it's about the power of community and basketball to build pro-social relationships as path to public safety and low recidivism rates. Because normally, so the through line is normally the Golden State Staffers play an annual basketball game at San Quentin. But so many guys have gotten out on parole, and most of them I got letters of support from the Golden State Warriors or basketball coach coming.
I've written some of them.
Yeah. And so it helped, like, vouch for them with the parole boards and get them out early in commutations, resentencing through the district attorney's office. So all these lifers that might not have ever gotten out are home now. And even some of the younger guys that actually, like Drizzy and Coop and Ryan, who beat the Warriors, the Golden State Warriors, their first year playing against them.
Ryan and Coop.
A lot of these guys that beat the Warriors over the years are out. And so now we're going to the Chase Center to play a road game. And it's funny, we had a scrimmage at a high school. I forgot the name of high school, but guys were out of shape. Like Cuddy tried to dunk 3 times. He kept Jordan with the 4-5 and the dunk.
And there's a guy who was in for his, and he was getting up, putting his elbow in the rim. He was challenging Matt McClung.
It's going to be interesting seeing him get in shape, get ready for this game, and to have this big opportunity at the Chase Center. It's going to be crazy.
And Jamaica works out. It works out. It'll work out.
Yeah. Right now it's just preliminary. We're planning on it, but I'm doing a sizzle reel right now, and we'll see where that leads us. But yeah, the reason why I'm doing a documentary like that is so important is because I've been in a lot of documentaries, and when people see me rooting for me, they rooting for me, right? They rooting for Tommy, they rooting for individuals, and I think they might see us as exceptional. And while what's really exceptional is the opportunities that I had from prison. And so it's really hard to tell a story because, the Hollywood mindset is you have to have no more than 3 main characters in one story, right? That's just too many people to follow. But it's a story about community, about a whole basketball team, a whole tribe, and how this tribe met this tribe, and now we one big tribe,
I love it. I'm rooting for you. I want to see how I can help. I mean, you really just articulated what Innovate is all about. I'm dreaming about replicating this program. Here's a shout out to the NBA and other franchises. Look at the impact they're making inside prison. They're moving the needle. Let's replicate this program. Let's get other teams involved. San Quentin's overserved. There's more programs inside San Quentin.
Golden State goes to Solano now.
I'm bringing the team into Solano. Our tentative date is the last day of March. Yeah, I'm going to bring a team in. With Irving. So he's Diablo Community College, so he's right there. It's not that far. So we're going to put a team together and go in there. I just played with an ABA team, the Delta Stars, Contra Costa County Delta Stars. I'm telling them, trying to get them into prison. I'm corrupting young minds, trying to get people into prison. You guys are trying to get out. I'm trying to get people in. And my big dream is for really the community to latch onto it, for the faith community. Man, we have so much fun. We go in there and play basketball, and man, it makes an impact. And
I gotta tell you about Solano. They just started going to play basketball. I think that's their first game this month. But prior to that, they were going in and teach the guys how to be basketball coaches.
Yeah, the Twinning Project.
Yeah, so to take the skill of basketball and go out in the community and use that as a path to mentor youth and people that might not, they ain't gonna show up for a self-help group because they ain't on parole, they ain't in prison, they in the streets. And so just using basketball as a chance to share their lived experiences. And so I just thought that was like what we do at San Quentin is amazing, but I just felt like that being more intentional.
Yeah.
Like giving a direct path, a lot happens organically.
I think
being
this is
intentional.
for both.
Yeah.
Let's
I like
twin
that.
the San Quentin program with the twinning project in Solano. Let's train coaches. I'm dreaming of an INBA, Incarcerated National Basketball Association. Let's go and replicate this program in every prison across California and across the nation. And we get teams, community teams, to go in there and play. And the same results we're getting there of 95+% success rate of rehabilitation through the power of community. Let's replicate that. Let's change the system.
Let's go.
All right. Let's do it. Well, thank you so much. How can people find you? You guys have an upcoming event, right?
Yeah, I think the easiest way to just figure out everything I'm doing, because a lot, is Rahsaan New York Thomas on Instagram. Rahsaan is spelled RAHSAAN. The words New York spelled out of Thomas. Find me on Instagram, man. I'm constantly posting everything I'm doing, from Empowerment Avenue to San Quentin Film Festival, the System Impact Media, to everything, man. That's the place to go. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for
Appreciate
joining
you,
me.
man.
Oh, we're going to have you back, continue this conversation, and let's change the world and solve the problems that matter most.
Let's go, man. Let's go.
Do it. All right. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this, check out the other episodes and subscribe to our podcast and share this with others. Let's get educated so we take the right actions and change the world.